Hello, my name's Katrina McKinnon and this is Content Marketing for Business Blogs. I'm going to just provide you with a little bit of an insight into how we go through our process of working out whether an article is going to be good enough for a business for us to publish on a business website. And let me just start by saying, I want to be very, very clear about this. It is extremely easy to break down someone else's work and to point out all the errors with it. It's a very easy thing to do. It's hard to write, and it's hard to write a good quality content piece. But what we do in our team is that we keep repeating the improvements that could be made. We just keep helping the writers to understand and to learn what those improvements are. And we find that over the course of months and sort of even years, we take writers who've got a natural talent for a little bit of writing, they can string sentences together, and then they end up being absolutely amazing. So it is a hard process to go through for many of the writers, but we've seen it time and time again where the results in, a couple of months down the track is just so radically different. So let me just go through this article here. So again, it's very easy for me to point out issues. The first one is when a lot of listicles, so X secrets, so 6 secrets to making a home remodel future-proof or whatever it might be, it's very easy to write a title and then to completely forget what the rest of the article should actually be about. So when you make a promise to a reader about it being X secrets, when you make the promise in the heading to the reader, you have to actually follow through in the rest of the article. So in this case, the writer will need to go back and either change the heading to be something that better matches the content, or he'll have to actually change the content to be the secrets. So one of the things that we would get this writer to do as well is we would get them to break down their slabs of text into shorter paragraphs. But I've got that in the feedback in the actual ticket. Another thing that happens that we really insist on is you'll see here the writer's just got a little space bar, an extra space bar in that section there. And again, we tend not to fix those for the writer. We tend to say to the writer, it takes our web development team, the publishing team, an extra minute just to go and fix all those little things in your article. But because we're producing 150 or 200 articles a month, that's an extra 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours for the web dev team that they didn't actually need to spend on it if the writer had just fixed those. So again, it's something that we push back on, and we ask our writers to just go through, and it's pretty easy to see it, and to go and fix those things up. Another thing we do is we insist on citing authority sources. So if I just show you the training over here, what we do is we will say, I'll just see down here, add authority links, so outbound authority links. So we try to offer training that says, we've got to have a contextually relevant authority source. Don't link to these automated article publishers. Don't link for paid for article publishers. We've even got a list of banned publishers that we never link to, because a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, I'll just say Forbes, for example, has a robot that creates content. So it's not really an authority source by any means. So we say to the writer, rather than sort of referring them back to the training all the time, we just say, is that your opinion, or have you got an expert that you can cite? So this was a good point as well, and this is something that comes through with our content coach. So we have a content coach that goes through and effectively does this process that I'm just sharing with you now. But when someone says the statement, for example, in the subheading, smart homes are in vogue, which essentially means that they're in fashion, none of this text actually talks about the fashion aspect. It doesn't talk about how there's an uptake. It doesn't show statistics as to how this is gaining traction or popularity. There's nothing in here that talks to the popularity of smart homes. So you can see here, I'm giving a little bit more feedback than we would ordinarily do, but it's to get through to this particular writer who's new in our team, that when you write that subheading, your text underneath actually has to match. Okay, here's another point here, in that quite often there's an opportunity to add a good keyword in, so that, think multi-purpose rooms in your home, or think multi-purpose usage for your remodeling or renovation. So there's an opportunity to get a really great keyword in there. And when you have a subheading that's a bit too smart for your own good or too short, it really loses both the opportunity with the search engine, but also the opportunity for the reader to skim read and find something that might be useful for them. This is a really clear example of, just breaking large paragraphs down into smaller paragraphs. This is something that we see a lot of. A writer will often say, this is important because, but the reason why it's important, they don't really dive into the real reason why it's important. They just say it's important. And again, it loses that opportunity to dive deeper into the topic and really think about it. So this is the sort of pushback. We look for words like important because it's a trigger for us to say this is an opportunity for us to get that writer to really dive down into the actual reasons why something might be important. The other thing that we see as well is when a writer hasn't structured their work or hasn't done an outline, this is one of the things we really insist on up here, is we always say, where is it? Write an outline before you start. In this case, it's really clear that the writer didn't do an outline because we can see it in the tickets. But what happens, and it happens every single time, is that when you don't get a writer to provide you with a very succinct little outline, it means that they tend to waffle. So you can see how there's talk of a living room, a spare bedroom, a gym in a spare bedroom, and then we'll go back to a bedroom, kitchen or spare room, and then we'll go back to an office here. And so it's really, the writer hasn't clustered their ideas. This is a perfect opportunity to say, look, I'll have a little subsection here just for bedrooms, how to multi-purpose a bedroom. I'll have another subsection here about, so the bedroom can be used as a gym or as an office or as a whatever it might be. But then I'll go through about a kitchen and say how that can be used in different ways. So you need to cluster ideas together and fully resolve them, because otherwise what happens is we tend to see a repetition of an idea a little bit further down that they'd sort of already said before. Again, this is another trigger point for us, success. Success of what? So in this case, again, the subheading offers a perfect opportunity to tie back into the main heading, which is home remodeling and the future proofing of home remodeling. So how is energy efficiency going to future proof a remodeling? Well, is it to do with money, or is it to do with the fashion idea of it, or what might it be, or cost saving? So again, we sort of say to the writer, try to push that back into that heading. Keep rising, another perfect opportunity for a citation rather than being personal opinion. And again, there's that word again, important, important, important. So we use those. We can teach our content coach, for example, to use some of those words as triggers to find out that the writer really doesn't know how it's important, but they can dive down a bit deeper. And this is a very good high authority citation. There's other little things like how sustainable is your model? Like I think they mean remodel. So again, you want to try to look at those subheadings and make sure that the writer hasn't inverted or hasn't used just say slightly the wrong word. We try to also watch for when they say you or one. So again, that's another just small thing. So again, like it's very easy. You can see how these are slabs of text down here. That's the sort of thing where we go through and where is it here? We have a whole training thing in here about very short paragraphs, one idea per paragraph. Where is it? Anyway, it's in there somewhere. The other thing that we do is we will instantly just pop that article into Hemingway. Hemingway, of course, named after Ernest Hemingway, is, master of short, succinct sentences that really still move a reader along, and I suppose that's why these guys have called it that. But this is a really great tool. We don't rely on it heavily. It's more, again, just as a trigger point to put the content back into Hemingway, because this is free to do this, and it just highlights these red and these yellow areas. So it gives the writer an opportunity to go back into the article and say, you know what, could I rewrite that so that it is more succinct. And as they change through here, the color will change. And again, so it doesn't tell you, well, this is now a perfect sentence construction. It just helps to point, it's another tool in your arsenal to point a writer back to how they could make the article better for both readers and also for Google. So that's about it, really. I could go into also, we've got a whole bunch of training about CTAs, and I think that that's been a key point for us as well. Giving our writers very specific examples about how to write CTAs. We sort of make a little library of CTAs that they can learn from. And then it means that they can push that back. So I'll be telling this writer in a minute to go and review that training and to see if they can put a little bit more nuance, a little bit more effort into the CTA, the call to action at the end, because really that's our chance to make an impression, to get engagement with the reader, and to prove that our content works really well for our clients. So that's just a breakdown of some of the ideas that we use when we get our content coaches, you know, the people who manage our queue and manage the quality. This is just an idea of how we push feedback back into the writer, and we refer constantly back to our checklist and to our training, and that really helps the writers to embed. So this guy here, he's fine, he's a good writer, but he's got things happening in his life that means that he hasn't really paid a lot of attention to this. But by helping him to learn and to see those trigger points, I have no doubt that in 6 months, 12 months' time, the types of articles he will be producing will be, very, very high quality. Okay, hope you enjoyed. Bye.